Reading from the first letter to the Corinthians. If I can speak the languages of all of the people on the earth, and know all of the secrets and wisdom of the ancients of the heavens, but do not use my voice for love, I'm just a noisy, broken musical instrument used only for a funeral march. If I have the wisdom to predict the future, to think on the deepest levels, where I have the most education and ability to comprehend thoroughly everything there is to know, and even if I have the most faith, more than anyone else, so much so that with just this faith I can move mountains, but I don't love, my life is meaningless. If I give away all of my possessions, and if I offer my life as a sacrifice to be burned for others, but do not live my life with a sole dedication to love, I will not gain any blessings from these sacrifices. Love is always patient and always gentle and kind. Love never elicits demanding behavior or leads us to acts that benefit just ourselves. Love will never make us proud or serve just to gain power. Love relies on us to be humble and is focused on others. Love is never arrogant and never leads us to covet or be greedy. Love is never about getting attention for doing something well. Love is never about increasing pride in ourselves, but is about encouraging others. It isn't rude, but always thoughtful, reflecting on what is best for others, always selfless, free from resentment or expectation. Love is without irritability or malice. Love does not feel relief or good feelings when something bad happens to anyone in any circumstance. Love never remembers when someone does wrong. Love never invokes joy at ill will or bad outcomes. It only rejoices in what is pure and perfect, and what is truthful and enduring. Love will exist throughout all of time and through all of the trials of this world. Love will continue to believe that better times will come, or that there will be a positive outcome. Love brings hope to all situations, no matter how hopeless it might seem. Love can be relied on. Love does not die. Because love never ends, eventually it results in a much greater and more complete understanding than what we are now capable of comprehending. Instead of thinking that we know it all, love will instead aim us toward learning to accept our limitedness, our foolishness, and our inadequacies as humans. As for thinking that we have the right and ability to speak to anyone in any language, we will see the greater need for silence. As for believing we can fathom all the knowledge and wisdom of the world, past, present, and future, we will see that it is best to consider it all forgotten. For as we are now, we can know only a tiny part of the whole. We cannot see the future or predict it wisely or fully, no matter how intelligent we become or how much knowledge we achieve. We will never reach perfection in this life or in this world. One day perfection, wholeness, complete truthfulness will come in its full form. All that is partial in this world, what we think, what we believe, how we choose to act or react, will all be completely gone. When I was a child, I used the language in a way that a child does, broken, limited, and without context of experience. I made decisions with the very limited thinking of a child, who is not mature, has not experienced this life, learned its lessons, gone through many stages of maturity, or formed an ability to appreciate. But when I became a mature adult, I no longer wanted to be like a child, and changed how I did things to be more adult. It is like looking in a mirror that is hazy. We can't really know or appreciate what it means to see ourselves fully or reality. But when the perfection of love comes, the mirror will be cleared, and we will see, know, and accept ourselves and the world fully. Right now, we can only know reality in its small pieces. One day it will be embraced instead in its fullness. I will finally know myself fully and be understood. I will be able to love and accept this world, others, and myself more completely because of love. We are given access to faith, hope, and love to guide us towards this wholeness. But the most dependable and reliable way is found through love. And now we're going to sing What the World Needs Now. The words are available in your bulletin.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love, is the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love, no, not just for some, but for everyone. Lord, we don't need another mountain. There are mountains and hillsides enough to climb. There are oceans and rivers enough to cross, enough to last till the end of time. What the world needs now is love, sweet love, is the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love, no, not just for some, but for everyone. Lord, we don't need another meadow. There are cornfields and wheat fields enough to grow. There are sunbeams and moonbeams enough to shine. All this and more, if you want to know. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs love, sweet love, no, not just for some, but for everyone. No, not just for some, but for everyone.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this video.
You might think, well, she's doing this thing on love today because, well, it's Valentine's Day, and in some ways you'd be right. But really, everything we're about is supposed to be love. God is love. And sometimes we get told things like faith without works is nothing, but we're reminded in Corinthians that part of what we're to do is to act on love. What does it profit us? If someone has the whole world but doesn't love, And it makes us think about things like how to help other people, how to get out of our own selves and think of other people. This was from 1559. It was a Peter Bruegel picture, and you go around counterclockwise, and he has feeding the hungry, giving drink to the thirsty, ransom the captive, bury the dead, shelter the stranger, comfort the sick, and clothe the naked. And all that sounds exactly what we're supposed to do. But with the number of us that are here to do it, and who are dedicated to doing it, it can be exhausting. And I hear that. And I know that. I know that loving has its own reward, but we are human beings. We have examples like Mother Teresa. That we know that she got the Nobel Prize. We know that she was out there all the time, from the time that she was teaching the novices and the Sisters of Charity till the time that she passed. But it wasn't that easy, and she knew that. And when she started seeing that, she started doing what all the rest of us try to do. She started fixing the outside of what was going on. And there's nothing wrong with fixing the outside of what's going on, as long as what's going on the inside is also repaired. So she began limiting people. She taught her novices these 4 rules. Work 6 days, take the 7th one completely off. Work 3 weeks, take the 4th one completely off. Work 11 months, take the 12th one completely off. Work several years, and then take an extended sabbatical for the entire year. And she incorporated these rules into the Sisters of Charity's novices teaching, the nuns this, because she knew what it felt like to not have her energy. But before she died, it got even worse, and we know that from the letters that she wrote.
Throughout 1946 and 1947, Mother Teresa experienced a profound union with Christ. But soon after she left the convent and began her work among the destitute and dying on the street, the visions and locutions ceased, and she experienced a spiritual darkness that would remain with her until her death. It's hard to know what is more to be marveled at, that this 20th century commander of the worldwide apostolate and army of charity should have been a visionary contemplative at heart, or that she should have persisted in radiating invincible faith and love while suffering inwardly from the loss of spiritual consolation. In her letters, written during the 1950s and 1960s to her spiritual directors, she disclosed feelings of doubt, loneliness, and abandonment. God seemed absent, heaven empty, and bitterest of all, her own suffering seemed to count for nothing. Just that terrible pain of loss, of God not wanting me, of God not being God, of God not really existing.
Those words got her, took a lot more reflection when they were going through how to memorialize her. Because we see her as serving God. Because she served love. But if you don't see God as this energy source that gives you this energy of love, and you're just out there checking off the to-do list on what you need to do for other people, you can get exhausted. We started on Romans 12 last August, and we moved there until November. And I just want to look at the first few verses of Romans 12 as how it relates to this, and this is why. During the Roman era, they started having rhetoric and written verbiage. And they would go around and write it, and then they would walk around and talk to everybody and tell them what wonderful ideas they had come up with. It's great awakening. And they would have, at the very beginning, everybody that is in high school knows, a thesis, and then you'd have the center, and then you would have a conclusion. And this is when we start seeing this pattern develop in writing, and right in the middle of that chapter would be what was really important, or what it was around. So the writing for Romans 12, no, it wasn't chapters, it was just thoughts, like, this is what's important, and they would separate them. So now, if you look at what 12 said right in the middle, never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor, serving the Lord. And I think that they did this because all of these verses in Romans 12 can help us with that, can help us not lose our zeal. If you look at the problems that churches have when it comes to doing outreach or staying alive, staying vibrant, attracting new members in, it's the same, they're the same problems that you have at your workplace. Because it is, in a way, work to work for God. And so we have the same issues of trying to force an outcome. And that definitely happens. Trying to mind something that's not your business. Trying to take care of everything else out there. Someone said something to me one time, and I said, it's not my business. If it doesn't happen at the pulpit, I'm not going to get involved in that unless it's like spiritual life outside of here. But what color you paint something, or what piece of furniture goes anywhere, that is not mine. But thinking that you have to go away and around and tell everybody what they need to do is a surefire way to get burned out. Unfortunately, we had a time when it was really easy for a hierarchical power to tell people how horrible they were, because they got money off of them feeling guilty and going out and working. And we have our religion now set up like that, and that is not what it says in the New Testament. The New Testament is not about guilt-tripping people into giving money to an organization. Meetings financially are taken care of by the generosity of the people who are here that want to give out of love. But when we started doing that with people and making them feel so terrible about themselves, we started telling them, well, you need to flog yourself. You need to wear scratchy clothes all the time. You have to, work all the time. Ministers never get a day off. You just have this whole idea of how spiritual people will just keep going and going and going. But that's not what it says in Romans 12. We also look at what's going on with us, and we're expected to reflect on how it's impacting us spiritually. How is what you're going through impacting your spirit? How is what you're watching impacting your spirit? How is what you're doing making a difference in your soul? And we tend to think, well, if we just had more stuff. Because when you don't feel well spiritually, it's easy to want to do more things and to get more. It's easy to do more things and try to fill up the void with stuff. And we do this with our kids. We say, okay, well, I've got to keep them really, really busy, or they'll get into drugs. How about if we keep them really, really busy, or we teach them about their spirituality, or we try to surround them with people that can have more spirituality, more support for them. We know that our bodies are the temple. And if we're going to believe that our bodies are the temple of God, if we know that our soul's inside these bodies and how these bodies act or react or what condition they're in, it makes a difference to your attitude. We think sometimes that we've just got to also pile other things on top of us. We look at having to weigh ourselves down. It's on the final bulletin as well. But weigh ourselves down with different things, whether, they're a good Christian because they're humble. Well, yes. But I also hear they're a good Christian because they're always penitent. And that's important too. But walking around hating yourself is not Christianity. That's not what it's about. Because when that happens, it leaves this emptiness inside. And the idea behind inspiration, inspire, full of the Spirit, is that you're supposed to give, have this generosity that comes. So we're told that to try to rethink things and not make it just about worldly ways of thinking about, I need to have this or I need to have that. We've got the example of Laban on the jerk at the very end, the last scene, where he's saying, I need only a thermos. Well, a thermos and a chair, and my dog, and then the dog doesn't want to stay. It's just, we always think we need. But Jesus says, my yoke is easy. It'll bring you peace. My burden is light. And he went even further when he started sending the disciples out. In Luke 9, he goes through and he tells them, don't take anything with you. When you go out there, don't take anything at all. In fact, if you go to someone's house and they don't offer you a way of peace, if they don't try to make you feel welcome, don't even take your resentment with you. Leave all that behind you. Leave everything behind you and move forward and let it go. At the end of his life, sitting around the table, after he washed everyone's feet, Peter and Judas start talking. Judas start talking to Jesus. And Jesus, of course, knows that he's had a bounty put on his head. And he knows he's talking to Judas. And he wants people to understand that it's not about the things. And that whatever Judas thinks he can do with that money, that's not where it is. That's not where the importance is. And so he asked them, when I sent you without a purse, bag, or sandals, did you lack anything? And that is an answer is nothing, but it is absolutely nothing. Absolutely, they didn't miss anything. And we're told this many times that we're supposed to be sacrificial like Jesus, right? And we get told over and over in the New Testament, the parts that got stayed for the canon, that the focus should be about us being ready to be crucified. And we think about our Christian lives as being crucified, and that Jesus never did anything to take care of himself, and we should be like that. But that's not true. We know he took naps. We know he went away places. He took a nap when they were in the middle of a storm at sea. We knew that he made food for people when they were hungry. I mean, yes, spiritually he wants to keep people with water and with bread, but there were also times when that came in a very tangible way. So he wants you to be okay and to see yourself as okay. And this is just one example I can show you of Jesus showing self-care. You remember when he healed the man's withered hand on a Sunday? Or a Saturday? And the Pharisees and Sadducees decided they were going to kill him because he had done something on a Sunday that to them looked like work. And that wasn't the only time it happened. At this particular time, he realized his life was being threatened, and so he left. And that's not the only time that happened. It is okay to put yourself in a safe situation. You do not have to stay in a bad situation to be Christian. So if you take care of yourself in the way of like, I'm going to take care of this temple, God needs my soul here, then we're promised that we'll be taken care of by God like the lily and the sparrow are taken care of. That we don't have to worry. Now, if God tells us to do something, that's a different story. But we don't have to have toxic behavior. Many times, and this meeting is a healthy meeting. I love the way that you treat each other. And I love the fact that you're all there for each other. It is okay to say no. It's okay to say right now, I'm not up for that. And for some people, saying no and I'm not up for that is what they need to do to take care of their spirit. For me, I'm an introvert. Getting me out of the house and out around other people is important to do. So I make myself and I push myself, and unfortunately what we do for ourselves, we do for others, and I'm sorry that if I push you to do things, because I'm pushing me to do things. I want to do for others. I want to serve God. I'd be happy as a lark at home by myself. And because that's just what my nature is how my nature's always been since I was a little girl. I remember being much more at peace when I was alone, and that's just being an introvert. So know who you are and take care of that. For years I thought that was evil, that I was a bad person because I wasn't out there doing things for other people all the time. And then when I was being a good person, I was doing things for people every day, all the time, not getting enough rest, not taking care of myself. Because that was the example I was told we were supposed to do. But self-care is a way of taking care of the spirit, and it's a way of taking care of the temple. And we're all told to follow God. But we're in Psalms, the Lord is my shepherd, I don't need anything. I am going to lay down and relax and have my soul restored. And then I'm going to simply follow God. I'm going to follow whatever leadership I hear. Whatever God is asking you to do, you can be 115 years old. God still will talk to you. You don't have to be a saint like Mother Teresa and put your life in so much tizzy that you can't hear God anymore. That you don't make the place to be introspective. This takes us back to that middle verse and how the first four verses help with what's in the middle. How do we keep this fertile? How do we get to where we can be patient when we suffer? How can we get to where we can be hopeful and joyful? How can we get to where we'll be faithful and make time for prayer?
thank you for being a congregation that takes care of each other. Thank you so much for the prayers that you had for Joe and I while we had COVID. We really appreciate that. And the concern. And I know that they had a lot to do with us getting well. And I really appreciate all the love that you showed, not just to me and Joe, but to Jay and to everyone else. And we thank you.